the other thing I wanted to point out is like some of these things they blend, right? So you can have somebody who's not just one of these, but maybe they're all of. That's how you kind of get like the complete player type thing. So all of these things, and there's more. My point of bringing these up is just to give people an idea of all of the different areas where your kid, or if you're the player listening or a coach, like these are specific skills that you can identify as kids being particularly strong at, right? And then when we start talking about roles now, it's going to be the combination of some of these things are what make you better suited to a certain role. If that all kind of makes sense. So if I go to the actual roles, the first one and your favorite is if we go to a power forward. So I want to talk a little bit about, you can use an example of power forwards if you want to, but just like what is the skill set that you would identify as the power forward? Like what do they need? Because I feel like people think of power forward like hit, right? Forecheck, which is part. But
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So for power forward, like it's an exciting position. I love it. It's probably my favorite because it requires so many skills, and it's not necessarily the glamour role, but done well, it is, right? You get a lot of a lot of the times if you look at a power forward, they're the guys that do the work behind the scenes. They're the guy that paved the road for the goal scorers and stuff like that, right? But like, so in a nutshell, for me, if I was to pick two off the top of my head, I would have said, like, well, old school. I like a guy like Brendan Shanahan. So you could see like something. Oh yeah, he's like modern day power forward, right? Like really good, big. Now you don't have to be big, but typically you are bigger. You skate well. You can skate really well, or you can maybe lumber a little bit. But the point is, you get to places, and you get there usually not. You don't have to get there violently, but it's kind
It's
of
always
like a
there.
thing.
The threat's there.
Yeah, because
Always.
you're in those situations, right? So if I was to say power forward, I wrote a couple things down. It's like typically physical, right? Typically has enough speed, right? And plays in straighter lines. So what I mean by that is you're not trying to dipsy doodle around people and stuff. So if I'm coming on a one-on-one with you, if I don't have a play, which is you usually can make plays, like a good NHL one can make a play. But if the plays aren't there, they're going to not try to beat you one-on-one. They're probably going to do is they're going to chip it by you, and they're going to use their speed or their power to get in front of you, and if they can't get in front of you, to run you over, and then work hard in the corners and do the hard work. They're going to probably go to the net a lot, and they're going to back check hard, right? So they go through traffic a lot. They go through people, get pucks deep. They create the havoc. That's what it is. And typically they shoot off the wings, like never a bad shot, right? And they
Just
take
like
pucks to the net.
throwing stuff to the net, getting to the net,
Yeah,
shoot.
but
Like,
typically everything they do, there's a contact with it, right? Even Dzone is a lot of contact, and then obviously in their own end, they're good on the walls everywhere on the ice, and they get pucks out. Like that doesn't seem like a real important thing, but like on the weekend, one of the goals that Guelph scored, it went off of a big Vilmer Ulrichsen, right? It was a backhand rim, not the hardest rim, but like one of those you go, but he played it so well, right? So he was drafted to the Vancouver Canucks, and he took it. And most people that aren't skilled on the wall will take the puck, try to hammer it out, or if they don't have time, it's usually a shit show. But he had the ability to actually make a play off of it. So, heads up, took it off the wall, knew he was going to get contact, took the contact, slipped it through the middle, centerman 2-on-1 or 2-on-2 or 2-on-1 with a hard back checker. They got the puck out wide, puck's in the back of the net. And a lot of people could say, oh, what a shot. But what you have to look at is he actually took a play that wasn't, it was the D that rimmed it. It may or may not have been his best option. But let's just say put the winger in not the best position, but that play there is what created the goal. The shot too, obviously, in the passing it up, but like not enough credit goes to that. So like when I looked at that, I said, what a great play. What a great play that is. So that's how important your D zone stuff is, right?
yeah. So is that good for power forward?
Yeah, that's cool. You get the concept, right?
Yeah, you can say more if you want.
No, it's good.
Okay. So that's your standard definition of a power forward, I would say.
Yeah.
If we go to like playmaker guy.
Yep.
Who do you
Well,
got for Playmaker? Or just like what are the skills, or who do you got as
no,
a
no,
guy?
like I'm going to go with a Mitch Marner. So you could say he's a goal scorer too. And yeah, well, a lot of playmakers can score goals because they can make plays. So being a playmaker, like it's or a good passer, doesn't seem like what's so hard about it. But what you have to understand is like when you're making plays at high levels, um, guys defend so hard and so quick, and there's contact, and what you think is open might not be open. So what you actually to be a good playmaker is you have to see all the moving parts on the ice, right? So like I always used to use the analogy when Ryan Ellis played in Windsor is that what everybody else saw when he would come up the ice to make a play, most guys would see, oh, there's a play, but he saw there's a play, but there's a play 2 zones down that could stretch someone that no one else in the rink would see. They can just see that, and they have the ability and the skill to make it. So a lot of the times it comes with deception. I think a panic threshold is a big thing. Like you look at Matt Potras with Guelph, or maybe with Boston, wherever he's going now. Pissed me off, but I'm happy for him.
Yeah,
Wyatt Johnson would have been like that last year
yeah,
with Spitz, went up to Dallas. Their panic threshold
yeah.
when they have
Kucherov. That's the
Kucherov.
Kucherov
There you
effect.
go.
Yeah,
For the rest of the world,
yeah,
yeah, Kucherov and their panic threshold is much higher than most people. So what that means is where most people will feel pressure. It's like they feel like I've got to make that play or that pass, and maybe it doesn't work out most of the time, or that pass I'm not sure enough. So what's my safest route is to get it deep, put it behind the net, which is good. But like the elite guys, Potsy, for example, he'll hang on to the puck for 40 seconds and then he makes his play. And there's deception, and what you think is there, and he peels off or he backs out, creates space. There's an intelligence to being a playmaker, right? They see things differently, and then the skill level is so high that it's like when you watch an NFL game and you watch a quarterback, when they show the replay from behind the quarterback's view, and you see a guy going between 2, 3 guys, and he's threading that needle, and you're like, that's how do you do it? Like that's the quality of what they know it's going to do it. They're putting the puck or the ball exactly this high, this fast, and they can read how fast guys are coming. That's what a playmaker can do.
yeah. It's seeing it, like identifying you can do it, and then being able to execute it too. That's one thing that was so funny this summer, like playing with when we had played on Sundays with these guys. It's like my brain can still see the stuff, but I can no longer execute the play anymore. Like it's starting to go away, which is both sad and hilarious. But when I think about the playmaker guy, the example that I think of is like if you're in a small area and there's a guy between, it's a 2-on-1 or something, let's say, and the guy can, if the defenseman is expecting a flat pass, they make the sauce. If they're expecting the sauce, they can make the flat pass. And it's like, how did you know the one that the defender just wasn't able to read? Like, how did you know to do that one this time? And that's the playmaking sense, right? That's that ability where you can just execute what needs to be done when it needs to be done, and it works. And that's a lot of guys don't have that, or they'll have half of it where they can see the play but can't execute it, or they have the skill to execute it. Maybe more like the guy you were talking about skating up the ice. He can skate, he can stick handle, whatever, but he can't execute the thing because he didn't see it. Right? He has the skill to do it, but he doesn't have the brain to do it. So it's like the combination of, or the intersection of those two things is interesting. If we go to offensive defensemen, talk a little bit about that one.
It's pretty simple. I mean, an offensive defenseman when you see it, I guess, most of the time. Who I would say, like Kale McCarr, obviously, Rasmus Dahlin, um, Carlson. They just put up a ton of points, obviously. What do they do well? They obviously skate the puck up. They can skate the puck, and they have pretty good hands. They can move it as well. Um, when they shoot, they know how to get it to the net because they can get good shot lanes. They can get it off quickly. They put it at the right height, or they shoot for rebounds, or they shoot for goals as well. But they find those little things there. Shot lanes are really important. You see a lot of guys shoot and they just can't get it through, or they get blocked. They can create deception. They're just offensively gifted, and similar to a playmaker, they see things other differently or quicker than other people. Like the game's maybe a little bit slow motion for them. It's not always just skill. And then typically they run a power play. So it's pretty simple. It's like very gifted player that can skate and make plays. Really.
Yeah, I think the other thing for me is there's always like this time factor that they just understand. Like they know when they have time. Nice. They know when they have time, or they know when to not do the stick handle. You know, because that's a big one that I always see at all levels too. It's OHL, it's everything. It's like they get the puck at the point, and it's just an extra stick handle or an extra, and now they're hitting shin pads. Whereas if they didn't do that extra stick handle, it would have went through or whatever stuff like that. They can just read those things, right? Last one would be like a stay at home D. Factors or skills or whatever that you think of with that.
Yeah, it's like I said before, Ryan McDonough probably that'd be the one that comes to mind like that. Um, they basically think D first, right? And maybe it's a function of when you get to the NHL level. This is why it's important that you learn how to play your D zone, right? Because even for the forwards, I'll go back to the D in a second. Even for the forwards that think they're goal scorers, if you don't know how to play your D zone, like the guys at every time you move up levels, the guys are just so much better every single time. So a lot of these guys that are stay-at-home D could actually put up some decent points in junior, like that's forward and D, right? You'd be surprised how many guys are on the fourth line or third line in the NHL that had 40 and 50 goal seasons in the OHL, or you know what I mean. So stay home D, they typically think D first. Like when we look at our wall here, Mike Weber was one that was stay at home D. Got a few, he got some goals in the OHL and stuff, but second round pick, and this guy would just block shots like crazy. Like it seemed like a simple game. They don't get a ton of glory, but when they do, it's usually in the playoffs or they do something amazing. What I always say about a stay at home D or a good defensive forward is you don't notice them until you notice them. And when you notice them, it's like spectacular. Do you know what I mean? Like you'll see a guy on a back check where he back checks hard, yeah, and then all of a sudden he steals a puck or stops a goal from going in, and it's like amazing because you just appreciate the effort and how hard that might have been to do, right? And that you think all heart, and everybody can appreciate that.
Yeah, I was
And
thinking of the guy that blocks 4 shots in a row. Like you
yeah,
see those highlight videos where they go and eat
yeah,
3 in a row or whatever.
yeah,
It's a good example.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like that's what I'm saying about Ryan McDonough and that, like the stay-at-home D, Mike Weber, and that is that they sacrifice their body for their team. Like they'll block shots. Um, they don't do anything really for glory. So they're usually beat up pretty bad. They're playing with broken toes and
Yeah, yeah.
stuff like
It's a
that.
simple game, like get
Yeah,
it, move it,
but they
that kind
think
of
D
stuff.
first.
Yeah.
So they're not asked to be carrying the puck all up. The most that they're really asked to do is make a good first pass. But even then, sometimes it's like if you can just do your job and get the puck out, move it to your forwards, however that happens, might be good enough. But typically, it's a good first pass. Um, Another way to say this, and this would be like a power forward too, is like they're just really hard to play against. Like every shift against a good defensive player is a pain in the ass. Good defensive defenseman, because you're probably gonna every time you get near them, there's gonna be probably some sort of contact. Whether it's you're going to the net, there's a cross check to your back or to your hips or to your upper body, and it's relentless. And you go in the corners and you feel it pretty much every time. They're gonna take a piece of you, and then also uh, their sticks are so good that they might not even have to make contact. Like they'll frustrate you that way because their sticks are so good that they have that good range and they take pucks when most like take pucks in areas where you never thought you get pucks stolen from you. Usually first good pass, get the puck out, block a lot of shots, always boxing out players. So you usually see these guys on the penalty kills, obviously, and in the times of the games where you're protecting leads. So this is why it's important that people understand roles, because if you can, like I said, if you can play good defense and you take real good pride in playing good defensive side, then you get that extra ice when it counts, right? In important minutes.
Yeah, for sure. So I think though, like to me, those are like the main four, and then maybe there's more that you could think of. But the other thing I wanted to point out is like some of these things they blend, right? So you can have somebody who's not just one of these, but maybe they're all of. That's how you kind of get like the complete player type thing, like the stay-at-home D that's also offensive, or the power forward that also is a playmaker. Like these things can blend, right? Where it's a guy like Crosby is a good example of that on the forward side because it's like, yeah, he's super skilled. He can make plays, whatever, but he can protect pucks. He wins faceoffs. He'll block a shot. He makes good outlet passes. Like